Taiwan has called on the government to distribute relief food to schools as many students failed to turn up for classes due to hunger. In Embu County, more than 1,000 farmers in the drought-hit Mbeere region have received sorghum seeds donations to help them navigate the vagaries of weather. Some of the farmers have shifted to Muguka farming, which they say has performed better in the harsh weather. Yusufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, a group of elders drawn from Garissa and Machakos County are now calling upon the respective leadership to organize a joint meeting between elders from both regions in a bid to resolve perennial conflicts over pasture for camels. Under the umbrella of Atumia Ma War, the elders led by their chairman, Bishop Dr. Robert Mutemi, say disputes have disrupted livelihoods of the people, especially those living in Malalani area of Mwingi sub-county of Kitui County.
That we can meet and deliberate on the possible way of resolving this conflict that has been going on for quite a long time. We feel that the issue has not been sufficiently addressed.
To Kisii County, now where residents of Kisii and Nyamira counties have been urged to register for a water connectivity program which will be implemented for 3 months. Gusii Water and Sanitation Company operating in the larger Gusii region is set to be rolled out. The initiative, which has been endorsed by Governor Simba Arati of Kisii County and his Nyamira counterpart Amos Nyaribo.
The issue of water connectivity is being addressed candidly and very clearly through the leadership of His Excellency the Governor, that will ensure that within the 3-month period we have done according to the plan that the Governor has instructed us. You will require piping, and therefore 500 looks like a small number, but it is big because the connection of the piping to the last mile is usually not easy.
And at about 23 minutes past the hour, we are taking a quick breather, but when we come back, we still have more news, not forgetting business and sports, and also keeping a keen eye on the report from Parliament after 24 of all the nominees that had been nominated were given the green light by Parliament to take up their dockets soon after the swearing in. We have that report plus much more. Let's have that break, but we'll be right back.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya joking kwa simu yako, bonyeza *811 *758 hash.
Good morning, class.
Good morning, Mr. Kipto.
Now I want you to write a composition using the word jogging.
Teacher, please give us spelling for the word jogging.
Sijasema jogi ile ujogi ile jogi ya kunyongwa. Hapana. Ninasema jogging. Na sijasema jogi ile nje unasema jogi ya kukimbia ya marathon ama ile jogi nyingine ile jogi ya television ya kucheka. Sijasema hiyo jogging, na maanisha jogging your brain ile kukimbiza akili ya changamoto. That a composition using the word jogging.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza *811 *758 hash *811 *758 hash.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Mnapanga nini na the Njugudas? Like I said, Nick, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm ready.
One of you has to quit.
I quit.
Your sense of entitlement will cost you in life.
It is your family's empire. If you don't work there, who will?
But why can't I just do what I love doing?
Don't let his suit and tie fool you. He has a boss too.
Kwa nini baidhi ukae kwa hadi mwisho wa mwezi?
Kureda atia.
Jitegemee bana. Okay.
I'm the boss around here, okay?
I'm sorry, sir. I was just trying to
understand your position.
And what do you think these kids are thinking?
You're grown-ups.
The legends and familiar chants will grace KBC once again.
Welcome back to KBC Lunchtime News. Remember, this live newscast is also live on all our social media spaces. In other news, medical practitioners are calling for regular therapy in managing autism spectrum disorders among the affected population. In Kenya, children suffering from the disorder, are approximated to be 6%, which is one autistic child in every 25 children, which is higher than the global level.
Murang'a County First Lady Wambui Hangata has pledged to establish a special medical program that will cater to autistic children and those suffering from cerebral palsy. Kenyatta National Hospital Chief Occupational Therapist Celestine Omondi expressed concerns over the rising cases of autism spectrum disorders witnessed in the country that has surpassed cerebral palsy over the years. She emphasized the need to embrace regular therapy as it aids in the management of the disorder.
We were given that at least 6% of the population of children with different abilities are children with autism spectrum disorder. 6%. That's really, really high. And even overtaking what we used to have in cerebral palsy in the mid-80s and early 90s. But this I attributed to the improved maternal child health care that we have had as a country.
On her part, Murang'a County occupational therapist Rebecca Kimanzi says that the number of patients seeking the medical service has increased compared to the previous years.
Na county ya Murang'a tuko na facilities kama 7 ambazo tunaofa services za occupational therapy. Tuko na hapa Murang'a level 5 hospital, tuko na Kangema sub county hospital. Kwa hivyo ningesi wananchi wote ambao wako na shida na viungo vya mwili ama mtu wako na shida na maisha yake ya kila siku, kimawazo, kimaumbile, anaweza tembelea hospitali yoyote aweze kuulizia ni wapi ataweza saidika.
People with autism spectrum disorders often have problems with social communication and interaction, restricted or repetitive behaviors or even interests. Opicha Chemtai for Lunchtime News.
And from health to matter security, the Busia Bishops Forum in Busia County has raised concerns over increased cases of insecurity in the area. According to the clergy, robbers are targeting mobile money shops, customers from banks and homesteads, led by Bishop George Odhiambo of Joe Ministries. The clergy reiterated that Mundika in Matayos and Kisoko in Nambale constituencies have become recent targets for criminal activities. This even as Busia County Commissioner Sam Ojwang assured locals that investigations are underway, saying action will be taken against culprits found culpable. He added that fighting insecurity is a collective responsibility that involves all residents in the county.
Kama Busia tumeongea juu ya Mundika ambao usalama si sawa sana. Tumeongea juu ya Nambale pale Kisoko ambao usalama sio sana, na hata mambo ambao inatokea ambao sio mazuri katika jamii na tuna ubakaji ya watoto na kadhalika.
Mimi nikiwa mmoja ambao aliathirika kwa mtoto wangu aliyepigwa marisasi na kauawa na alikuwa ndiye amemaliza university. Watu wametulia kidogo tena, wamechipuka, wameanza tena kutembea around wakinyanyaza wafanyabiashara wa M-Pesa tena kuwaibia pesa.
In other news, a section of leaders from Marsabit County have urged the government to fast-track implementation of the drought mitigation measures in the northern region to curb loss of lives and livestock in the wake of the prolonged drought. North Hall Member of Parliament Wario Guyo Ade and his Moyale counterpart, Professor Guyo Jardesa, alongside former presidential candidate Ruben Kigame, claimed candidates due to sit for the national examination risk missing out of action if not taken immediately.
Naomba kwamba serikali kupitia rais wetu William Ruto ikubali kwa haraka sana kuweza kutangaza kama janga la kitaifa yale yanayoendelea kule Northern Kenya.
We are appealing to all well wishers and to the government in particular, if it can be able to look at the possibility of with immediate effect sending relief for the school programs. We want the government to look into the possibility of food relief into the schools with immediate effect, because this one, in the next about 30-something days, chini ya siku 40, those children will not be able to sit the examination. In as much as we will take that examination to them in helicopters and in other ways, to whom are we taking that examination if they are not able to sit? The schools are closing down, the enrollment is going down, and people are not able to have, even enjoy that possibility.
The most important thing is, yes, the drought is there, the suffering is there, and how do we alleviate this suffering of the people? And that is the essence. The number of people, if you go to the Moyale, for example, every year you see people burying some elderly people, some children, and we are not keeping count. But the reason is, they are sick. But it's not sickness, it's hunger.
In one of the centers in North Hall, a place called Illeret, early this year we lost 12 children in one center due to malnutrition. And it's a center which is run by MSF. It's a nutrition center run by MSF. 12 of them died. So since then, Marsabit is quite vast, and we all understand, the nature of our people. And they're moving from place to place. In most of the places, there are even no networks. So even assessing these communities, while most of them have even crossed to Ethiopia, is not really very easy. So getting these real numbers of people who have children who have really died due to malnutrition is not really easy to assess.
In Machakos, residents in the county have been urged to explore alternative dispute resolution mechanisms such as mediation on issues concerning land ownership to help reduce the backlog of cases. Acting presiding judge of the Machakos High Court, Lady Justice Margaret Muigai, cautioned aggrieved parties against taking matters into their own hands and instead resolve issues amicably. She made the call during the launch of the Free Legal Awareness Week.
Kama ni mambo ya mashamba, tusichukue mapanga kwanza. Tuweze kusikia mawaidha kutoka kwa mawakili. Kama ni mambo ya mali ya marehemu, tuweze kusikia kutoka kwa mawakili njia ya sisi kuweza kuzungumza kama jamii.
Ni jukumu letu, na ninahakikishia kwamba tukiwa hapa tukifanya kazi, tutajaribu na wenzangu kuhakikisha kwamba wale watu ambao wana makosa madogo wanaweza kupata bond ili tuweze kupunguza hiyo idadi ya watu walio prison.
In other news, a community-based organization in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County, has adopted feeding and mobile school programs to positively impact the lives of street children through education and inspiration. Inuka Pamoja Initiative Director Benedict Mechka says through the initiative, 199 street children have enrolled to join both primary and secondary schools, with more than 30 children getting integrated with their families.
Extreme cases of poverty, lack of food, and inability by many parents to sustain their children at home due to the current tough economic times are top reasons attributed to an increase in the number of street children in urban areas across the country. In Eldoret town, a community-based organization has adopted feeding and mobile school programs to positively impact lives of street children through education and inspiration.
We use it to attract the street children who come here in our venue, and we teach them about hygiene. We teach them about their environment, about drug abuse.
Inuka Pamoja Initiative Director Benedict Mecha says so far 199 street children have enrolled to join both primary and secondary schools in a move that will reduce cases of children going back to street life.
199 in secondary school and 2 in primary school. So we have been doing that until now. They are going to Form 3 next year, and we really thank God for that.
The initiative has seen more than 30 children getting integrated with their families, with stakeholders calling on the government and well-wishers to help strengthen and empower parents of such children.
Had a joint activity to ensure that these children are in schools, and we have brought for them some textbooks from our donors.
Ben Chumba, Lunchtime News.
And back to drought, an estimation of 2.5 million herds of livestock is said to have been lost as a result of the ongoing prolonged drought in the country. Livestock Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai says the government is looking for more markets to export livestock in order to reduce huge losses in the affected region. Kimtai said that livestock farmers have been dealt a big blow through the loss of their animals for the last 4 seasons. He added that to cushion the farmers from more losses, the government has an ongoing intervention through an off-take program at Kenya Meat Commission.
Kimutai said the livestock farmers have been dealt a big blow through the loss of their animals for the last 4 seasons. He added that to cushion the farmers from more losses, the government has an ongoing intervention through an off-take program at the Kenya Meat Commission, as well as export of livestock to other countries.
We estimate to be about 2.5 million livestock that has been lost, but the rest, I think they are not in a very stable condition. Their body weight has really emaciated because of lack of pasture.
Judy Odongo, the Deputy Chief of Party USAID Kenya Crops and Dairy Market System Project, said the 5-year program is sponsored by USAID in partnership with the government through the State Department of Livestock as implementers.
And we're also focusing on issues of markets, of milk and milk products.
Moving on, residents of Hakimori village in Gatundu North, Kiambu County, are appealing for help in eradicating a jiga infestation in the village. The ravaging fleas have wreaked havoc on over 10 families, leaving them unable to fend for themselves.
Residents of Hakimori have known no peace for months now due to the ravaging parasitic insects. Bearing the brunt are the elderly persons who have been incapacitated by the flea, rendering them unable to go about their daily economic activities.
Mingi ni hizo za hizi jiga. Kwa hawa wazee hata zimetushida kabisa. Wengi hata wanashidwa na kuoga, hawana hata ya chakula, tunashidwa. Hata sisi tunashidwa ni tutafanya nini kwao.
Jane Gige, a concerned local, says jiggers have made life unbearable for many here.
Juvenye tumesema hii madutu imesumbua watu wengi sana. Nyinyi mnaona tu hawa, lakini wenye wako manyumbani ndio wengi. Imeletea watu baridi. Na ndio mara mingi mtu akikuja nakwambia ninapitia hii, nimejaribu hii, unamwambia wacha tutafute plan B. Juu hakuna otherwise. Unaenda kwa soko, unamnunua hizo masoksi, kama anaitwa mahali, kama kuna mahali anaenda anavaa hizo masoksi, kwa hivyo huwezi jua kama akona dutu, lakini dutu ziko kwa mguu, lakini akona mahali zimefika akashindwa kuificha juu mguu imeenda kobokobo.
Gige says many elderly persons have lost their nails as a result of the invasion, with others having developed inflammation and ulceration among other ailments.
Na shida yetu hapa Hakimori ni dutu. Dutu ni mingi sana kwa sababu inalemea watu wengi hapa, akina mama na wazee wako na dutu sana.
Aurelia Emomeri, Reporting for Lunchtime News.
Let's now have a look at business, where Kenyans are being urged to embrace organic food consumption in a bid to nurture a healthy lifestyle. True Foods Chief Executive Officer Sagar Malde says consumers from all over the world are increasingly becoming more concerned about the quality of the food supply, besides being more health conscious.
During the annual International Chef Day, True Foods, which is Zesta Jam's maker, endorsed chefs across the country to encourage organic food consumption. John Masharia, one of the chefs, challenged fellow chefs to adopt the usage of natural products in their recipes.
Kenya can grow a very healthy future in, first of all, product knowledge. Chefs need to be knowledgeable with the new trends that are coming in the market. And those are things like vegans, who have really turned the ballgame on cooking and how to produce things.
True Foods has announced plans to transition from plastic to glass packaging of some of its products to not only grow a healthy future, but also protect the environment, as glass is natural, sustainable, and recyclable.
We are looking into becoming more environmentally savvy. We all know the world is changing into becoming or saving the planet. Therefore, we've already started our work by reducing the plastic content in our products. In addition to that, we also know, and we're already started to source for glass as a replacement for plastic.
They also urged farmers to adopt organic farming.
Kenyans should invest more in learning more about our soils and how our food production need to come from the soils. So, if we go organic, it will be much better for our country, and that will sustain us more healthier and productive.
True Foods has committed to roll out sugar-free products to drive the healthy living agenda.
And still on a healthy diet note, in efforts to encourage consumption of beans, the Biotechnology and Biological Sciences Research Council, in conjunction with the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization, KARO, have rolled out a program to train Kenyans on a variety of bean recipes. Take a look.
The Biotechnology and Biological Sciences Research Council, in conjunction with other partners, were in Kieni West, Nyeri County, to train women on different recipes for beans. Here, Dr. Beatrice Kiage, a representative from the Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources Policy Analysis Network, said the training was rolled out as a survey in the counties of Kiambu, Meru and Nyeri revealed that those consuming beans complained about gas after taking the legumes, and that the food crop was less appealing to children.
Then we came up with recipes together with KARO. We have more than 40 recipes that we came up with, and we have tried them. So we realized that we can make beans in such a way that it can appeal to the modern man. Because you see, yes, we are saying that we want these children, for example, who are at risk of getting micronutrient deficiencies of zinc and iron, to consume these beans. But if we just give them boiled beans and githeri, they will not eat. But what if we come up with recipes? For example, you make a kebab out of beans. That will definitely go with the children. If you make mandazis.
She says beans, which is rich in nutrients, can be prepared in a way that appeals to the modern society.
You make donuts, you make bread, you make cakes, you make biscuits, cookies, name it all. We have all this. So you can imagine packing for your child that. They will eat beans, they will get their iron and zinc, and they will be very happy. So we want to make sure that we promote the adoption and consumption of these beans in Africa.
The training is being conducted at a time when a third of Kenya's population is at the risk of a stunted growth, while over 20 counties are facing hunger due to prolonged drought.
From beans to rice, where rice production at the Ahero irrigation scheme is set to double once the planned expansion of the scheme is completed. The National Irrigation Authority plans to expand the irrigation scheme to 36,000 acres from the current 16,000 acres. The authority say Ahero is currently producing close to 40,000 metric tons of rice, but has the potential to double the number to 100,000 metric tons. Achola Simon with the details.
Kenya has been growing at a rate of 11% in the last 10 years. This has made rice the third most important staple cereal in Kenya after maize and wheat. However, production has fallen far behind consumption, with the country producing 80,000 tons, while Kenyans consumed 710,000 tons in 2020. To lower the import cost and spur consumption, Kenya has been expanding land under rice irrigation, which currently stands at 25,000 acres. To increase rice production, the National Irrigation Authority plans to increase acreage at the Ahero irrigation scheme.
We say that if you want to go fast, go along. But if you want to take a longer distance, then go together. So maybe we can go together, but depending on how the Kenyans show their ownership. So rice production is one of the areas that the Japanese government is looking at, but also other areas of cooperation, because you have so nice Lake Victoria water resources, and there are social challenges that the neighboring counties are facing.
The National Irrigation Authority says the Ahero irrigation scheme is currently producing close to 40,000 metric tons of rice, but has the potential to hit well over 100,000 metric tons each season.
Still, there's a lot over around 20,000 acres which have not exploited, because also the capacity of our pumping system here. But now with this, if the Soru Koin Dam is constructed, we can be able to bring the other areas which we have not been able to exploit into food production. And that one will be able to increase the food security in this region.
The expansion of Ahero will be done with the help of Japanese government through Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA.
We would like to make this partnership sustainable on rice production in this area. So not only the rehabilitation of the infrastructure, we'd like to have a strong farming community here. That's the key for rice production to grow further. So not only the hardware component of the assistance that we are looking at, but we are looking at the soft component assistance.
The scheme manager, Ken Sitawa, also wants the government to invest more in mechanical pest and bird control measures to reduce wastage. Currently, close to a third of the production go to waste due to invasion by the red-billed quelea birds. Achola Simon, Business, Kisumu County.
And away from foods, building contractors are being encouraged to use helicopiling systems when setting up electricity poles to avoid building mishaps due to instability. The Kenya Power Consulting engineer Peter Kimemia says modern anchoring structures for electricity poles reduce power outages as well as where leave spaces requirements and cut cost by as much as 30%.
In the last 10 years, more than 50% of construction projects have been suspended by the National Construction Authority due to non-compliance. Construction industry practitioners say this is mostly due to contractors using outdated practices and technology, especially for amenities such as electricity, infrastructure and plumbing.
Poor foundations have led to quite some disastrous results. Terms of structures collapsing, buildings collapsing, and we have seen it especially in our countries.
They say a lack of attention for proper foundation would deteriorate a building faster than normal.
There are tests to be done, tensile strength, torsion in terms of, especially because you have to move it through a hydraulic system and you are drilling deep into the ground.
Is to add values to the location of business that we are in. that we'll be able to contribute new technology, new product.
In addition, they say, using new technology would use less way leave, which would push further ongoing electrification efforts in the country.
We have a lot of power pylons and towers that crisscross the terrain of the country in all manner of terrain and soil conditions.
They say this technology would be important, especially in restricted terrains, where soil conditions, access, and concrete foundation operations are a challenge. Hibak Said for Lunchtime News.
And after that report on building, we now have our interactive segment where on the other side of the studio, Brian Kimani is on standby to give us more in terms of digital transformation. Over to you, Brian.
Well, thank you very much, Njue, for that introduction. And of course, today we just want to have a look at digital transformation in Kenya. If I can take you back to April this year when the government launched the digital master plan that is supposed to transform the country into ICT-based economy in the next 10 years. And so those are the issues that we want to focus on this afternoon. And of course, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Brian Kimani is my name. I'm talking to the chairman of DX5 or Digital Transformation 5, formerly CIO Africa. This is Harry. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Harry. I mean, we were with you in Diani when this document was launched by the outgoing CS for information. What is striking about that document for you?
I think what is striking about the document is the intent. The intent by the government to create an enabling environment, to create structures, to create infrastructure that will digitize the country and benefit from what anything, from the digital transformation debate that we're talking about. Because digital transformation is about, it's not about patch-ups. It's, you're not patching up stuff. You're not really improving what you've been doing, but you're rethinking. You're rethinking completely what you've been doing and put it in a better way, a more efficient way to achieve your goals. Yeah.
And when you look at the current trajectory that the country has taken in terms of developing ICT infrastructure, ICT talent in Kenya, and of course reforming our curriculum to suit the modern day needs, are you convinced that we're on the right path?
I think we are. And I always joke around this, and a lot of people do actually, that Kenya, we have the best plans, we have the best strategies, we have the best thinking around digital, and even the best talent, if I can say that. But a lot of the time where we falter or where we pull back is when we now have to implement those strategies, when we have to implement what we've said in our plans. I think that's where now there's a disconnect. But if we can tie that together, I think if you look at private sector, if you look at government, if you look at the talent that is coming up, there's a lot of things that we can do as a country to move ourselves forward.
Yeah. And when you look at the digital talent pool that we have in this country, do you think we have proper policies, we have proper processes of harnessing these?
I think, the talent discussion it's been big in the last few months, and I think we've built talent, but there's something else we need to do. I think we need to now deepen that talent. We need to go deeper in terms of if we're building or if we're creating or producing, for instance, data analysts, right? We need to, we have data analysts, but now let's go deep on data analysis, so that we have the best of the best. Because that's the only way we can actually come up as a country. Because you see, it's a competitive environment globally, and we're no longer competing, within our region. We're competing globally,
And this is one of the reasons why we actually have the Digital Transformation Awards. We want to bring out the best of the best to show that the country and the continent at large has the talent, has the brains, to move our country and our continent into a digital realm. Yeah.
And you see, you're talking about talent, and of late we have seen the influx of global ICT titans, like Google, like Microsoft, setting up their base here in Kenya on a recruiting mission whereby they are taking the best of the cream, to work for them. And this brain drain, do you think is really helping us as a country?
I don't look at it as as brain drain, actually. I look at it from a very positive point of view, because you see, so Christopher, I'm just creating a name.
Yeah.
Who's a developer? Yeah, works for Harry. Okay.
Yeah.
I am a local company. Probably my skill level or my demand for skill level is at a certain level, at a lower level. If you compare to, say, a global company like Microsoft or AWS or Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if Netflix hires Christopher to go work for AWS or Netflix, do you know what happens there? That skill level is uplifted to that level. So you're quickly realizing that all this talent that we feel it's brain drain, but that's actually upskilling our talent.
But the challenge is coming by the fact that, for example, if you're hired by a Silicon Valley-based company to go and work there, then your chances of coming back, to work in Kenya are as slim as it can
I don't
get.
think so. I disagree. I completely disagree, because you see, if this talent, if somebody is hired by a Silicon Valley, whatever it is, company, and they go to Silicon Valley, and by the way, a lot of them actually don't even travel. They work from here, because a lot of those companies actually, they work remotely. So they're hired by a Silicon Valley company, but they work remotely from here. But let's assume that this person will go to Silicon Valley. Yeah, I can guarantee you 3 years, and they'll be back here. Yeah, because you see,
we have empirical evidence to that effect.
I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of people do that, and it's about you going, getting the skill level that you're looking for, elevating your networks to whatever they want you want them to be, and then come and build back at home.
But you see, the question that the challenge that is coming here is because, for example, you have gone through the Kenyan educational system,
correct?
Whereby government, families, and so much, they have invested so much in
yes.
you. And with high expectations, and then you go to university, to a technical institution, and you imagine the best. But before you could plow back that knowledge into the Kenyan economy, into the Kenyan ICT landscape, then you're hired by a multinational to help with innovations that are all geared towards building their economies.
I think that's where now you look at these people as your ambassador into wherever they go. Yeah, they'll be hired by a Silicon Valley company, but at the end of the day, they're Kenyan. Yeah, their roots are here, so they'll go wherever they go, but they'll come back here. And when they come back, and to me, it's about upskilling. Honestly, it's about upskilling our talent for us to be able to. I'll give you an example of Korea. Korea, back in the 90s, they actually they were more proactive as a government because they actually sent out some of their scientists to Europe, to the US, and to all these developed countries, so that they can learn the skill, understand how they do business, and then after X number of years come back and build your country.
Yeah.
And look at Korea.
But we have such a platform.
So we don't,
such an argument.
We don't have that structure.
But do you think it is high time we develop such?
I think so. And I think it's for us to create an environment and give incentives to these people who are hired by these companies and they leave the country. I'm telling you, a lot of them don't leave. A lot of them work remotely from here. But the ones who leave, let's create a structure and an incentive program where, you know, after X number of years, you know, you can come back and start your own business or plug in to a certain sector and develop that sector.
And when you look at our curriculum, for example, I mean, do you see well thought out intentions of reorienting our training into, you know, courses that will matter into the future?
I think there we're struggling.
You're struggling?
Yeah, I think we're struggling in the sense that a lot of because I look at the university because that's where probably I know more. But I look at if you look at the universities, I think curriculum development needs to be faster. Because I think within the universities, I think curriculum development takes probably about 5 years. Now, 5 years in IT is like a lifetime. And, you know, you may not be able to develop or produce industry-ready graduates. But again, you know, sometimes it's difficult to do a one-on-one match for a skill that is for the future. So it's also, I think it's a responsibility of all the players to actually create a pipeline of talent for the future. So it's not just the university, it's the private sector, it's government, you know, so we just have to work together to create that pipeline so that we can secure our future.
And so then the challenge then comes because, I mean, as you are saying, I mean, 2, 3, 4 years, I mean, in the tech industry, I mean, that is what you call outdated technology. But you have a situation whereby, you know, our institutions of higher learning, you know, are still churning out graduates with technology that was developed in 1990s, in 2000, in early 2000s. So how do we ensure that, you know, our transformation turnaround of our curriculum is fast enough to catch up with the latest trends in ICT?
I think it's easy. It's not a difficult thing, but it requires us to be honest, and it requires intent. We have to, you know, we have to be purposeful about it. Because you see, when industry and academia are working in parallel, that's when you have this kind of mismatch. Yeah, we need to start having a stronger tie between industry and academia. And I don't know where we lost it, but I think there used to be a very strong tie between all industry, not just IT. Between all industries where you have a very strong tie between the academia and a specific industry. I remember when I was in university, we were recruited at the university because they knew the kind of people that they wanted, you know, and they knew, okay, if we want to recruit technical students, it's a school of science or a school of whatever, you know. So we need to have that tightness where even the private sector is involved in some of the, you know, when you're renewing curriculum development. Yeah, I think that tie is what is missing. Yeah.
So how do you create, you know, that linkage?
I think it's just continuous discussions and partnerships. I know there's some universities who've taken it upon themselves to really work with private sector. And you know, getting to know what the private sector is. I keep on joking every time I speak with my professor friends that I think university professors, and I know I'll be killed for this, but university professors need to go for internship. Need to go for internship in private sector so that they can understand what is happening in the private sector, so that when they go back to teach, then you know, they're talking from a point of knowledge, because you see they've interned. You know, you've gone to, say, for instance, if you're teaching computer science, you go to Liquid Telecom, for instance, an intern there for 3 months or whatever amount of time. So when you live there, you know exactly what challenges these companies have. And therefore, you can integrate that into your training. Yeah.
And I remember one of the local universities, talked about developing incubation centers and retraining centers, even for their professors and lecturers. I don't know whether that has happened, but do you think that can be a concept that can be adopted?
It could be. You see, incubation is slightly different, because you see, what are you incubating? Are you incubating a business? Are you incubating talent?
Ideas.
Yeah. So if it's ideas you're incubating, I think it's just an industry. It has to be a deliberate industry academia partnership. Yeah.
Let's now talk about the DX5 awards. What we used to call the CIO awards. I mean, now as an organization, you've been around for the last 15 years.
Yes.
You're telling me.
Yes.
What have you learned about Kenya's digital transformation journey?
It's been interesting, and especially if I look at it from the lens of the awards, because you see, before the awards we do a lot of back work. So we do a whole survey, looking at what people are doing in terms of, we ask them what they're doing, what kind of projects they're taking on, what kind of budgets they're spending on these projects, what are those projects, what are they solving, what is the problem that you're solving. So I feel like we're getting to maturity. And when I say we're getting to maturity, is you're starting to see a very good understanding of what technology can do for a business or for an organization, and therefore you find there's a very strategic approach to technology. Those days, what used to happen is, accounts needs a printer. Okay, here is money, go buy a printer. We need to have financial services. We need an accounting system. Okay, all right. So you get an accounting system. But now you're seeing a lot of the adoption and execution of IT within businesses is very strategic and tied to the objectives of the business. Yeah, so that's the maturity I'm talking about. So you're not just doing IT for IT's sake, but you're actually bringing in IT to help a business problem. Yeah.
And when you look at the issues around innovation, are we doing well? Because just the other day I was going through a report, I can't remember which one, that was saying that Rwanda, which is our next door neighbor, has edged out Kenya as one of the top 10 innovative countries in Africa.
Don't read those reports.
They're lying. Or what?
I think we're okay.
We're okay.
We're okay. I think we probably lost a bit of time, especially there's certain ingredients. There's certain ingredients that you need for any innovation ecosystem to strive. Yeah. So you need good government policy, you need good universities, and you need serious entrepreneurship. Yeah. So we have those ingredients. Yeah. But we need to now make them work together. So you'll find that a lot of the time, either government is running on its own, or the private sector entrepreneurs are running on their own.
So there's no synergy.
Yeah, there's no synergy, there's no partnership, there's no what's the word? Yeah, so people are not working together. But we have all the ingredients
in place.
And even without that partnership, you still see amazing products coming out of startups. And we'll have some of these startups at DX100 at the awards, because we've been looking at some of the startups who are doing some amazing work as well. Yeah.
In 30 seconds, I want to hear from you. Where do you see Kenya's digital space in the next 5 years?
In space, but I think I see a much more robust digital space. I see digital transformation taking root. And you know, I would welcome everybody to come to the DX 100 Awards in November in Diani, because that's where now you see the innovation at work. Yeah.
Well, I promise to come there.
Awesome.
God giving live, so
awesome.
So that we can continue with this conversation.
Excellent, excellent.
Harry, thank you very much.
Thank
you for
you
joining us this afternoon, and of course helping us with your insights.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Asante sana.
Asante.
Harry is the chairman of DX5, formerly CIO Africa, joining us this afternoon to help us understand Kenya's journey of digital transformation, where we are going, the challenges, and of course the opportunities. You have heard it from him. We now want to take you back to Njue to continue with the rest of the bulletin. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Thank you very much indeed. Back to you, Njue.
Thank you so much, O'Brien. Together with Harry, we are quite informed now in regards to acceleration of the digital transformation. Thank you for that report. We are continuing with our live coverage of the news making headlines. We are now have to look at the corporate briefs where the Capital Markets Authority has admitted Altri Capital Kenya Limited, a licensed fund manager, to its regulatory sandbox to test the Sortika investment application and robo-advisory solution. CMA Chief Executive Officer Wycliffe Shamia says the admission of Sortika investment application will enhance access and usage of regulated investment options by the investing public. Raymond Njenga brings us the details of this story and more from the corporate scene.
The Sortika application offers users the ability to save and invest daily by empowering them via a passive savings tool or reminder which prompts the customer to save each time they spend. Capital Markets Authority Chief Executive Officer Wycliffe Shamia says the admission of Sortika investment application will enhance access and usage of regulated investment options by investing public in the capital, adding that the new entrant was the third fintech to test a robo-advisory solution, pointing out that the authority will be keen to analyze the uptake of similar solutions by investors. Meanwhile, Realness Institute, in partnership with Netflix, has opened calls for submissions to its 2023 episodic Lab and Development Executive Traineeships program, which will take place from April next year. The Lab and Traineeship aims to support screenwriters and mid-career industry professionals from Kenya, Nigeria and South Africa, seeking opportunities to develop their original story ideas in any genre and are looking to enhance their skills as a story consultant, respectively. Within the 3-month period, episodic Lab participants will be given the opportunity to pitch their incubated stories to Netflix executives and be exposed to a more nuanced approach in the support of writers. Finally, Safaricom has announced the launch of Daima, a service which enables customers to keep their lines active for a period of 6 months to 2 years without topping up. The service seeks to address the challenge of inactive lines for customers who may be traveling or living abroad for long periods, are away in school, are in remand or prison, have a change of ownership of line situation due to loss of a loved one, for car tracking service, or have multiple lines that they wish to keep active. According to the telecommunication regulations, a customer needs to have used a provider service within 90 days to be considered as active. Wairi Mujenga for Lunchtime News.
Further afield, the Universal Resort theme park in Beijing has temporarily closed as part of COVID-19 prevention measures. Coronavirus cases have been rising in Beijing despite having some of the world's toughest anti-coronavirus restrictions. The park, which is part owned by the US media giant Comcast, did not say when it would reopen but pledged to refund or reschedule tickets. Here are the details of this and other stories making headlines from across the globe.
This is the second time that the Universal Resort theme park, which was opened in September 2021, has been forced to close this year. It was shut for 6 weeks from the start of May as part of COVID-19 containment measures. Strict zero-COVID policies have seen some of China's biggest cities being locked down, including the financial, manufacturing and shipping hub of Shanghai. Last Thursday, some housing estates and shopping centers in Beijing were locked down because of a steep rise in cases. China President Xi Jinping has signaled that the country will continue to pursue its strict zero-COVID approach, even as the measures avoid on economic growth. Elsewhere, sales at tech giants Alphabet and Microsoft have slowed sharply, adding to fears of downturn in the economy. Alphabet, which owns Google and YouTube, said sales rose 6% in 3 months to September to $69 billion as firms cut their advertising budgets. It marked the U.S. firm weakest quarterly growth in nearly a decade outside of the start of the pandemic. Microsoft, meanwhile, says demand for its computer and other technology has weakened. Its sales rose by 11% to $50 billion, making its lowest revenue growth in 5 years. Consumers and businesses around the world are cutting back as prices rise and interest rates go up. Finally, World Bank has warned that UK energy bill for all is too expensive. The UK government had planned to help everyone with the soaring energy bills. World Bank President David Malpass said COVID support schemes had not been targeted enough towards the most vulnerable, and the debt will take decades to pay off. The war in Ukraine is causing energy prices to spike. Across Europe, governments have introduced energy subsidies to help households pay for rising prices. The energy crisis comes at a time when governments have already run up large amount of debts. Terry Njenga, Lunchtime News.
And back home, at least 800 families in Loitoktok, Kajiado County have received relief food from well-wishers as drought continues to ravage the region. Locals lauding the initiative say they have suffered over the last three seasons, due to the failed rainfall. The locals also received free animal feeds to save the lives of their livestock. The well-wishers urged both the national and county governments to escalate their response to the unfolding crisis. They proposed, among others, the provision of irrigation equipment and water to local farmers to increase food production in the region.
Saa ingine siku mbili siku tatu hatujapata chakula. Hivyo leo naona leo atafurahi kabisa. Hata wale mnaenda kukuta hata kama hajafika hapa na tutagao na atafurahi.
Kula ambaye tumepeana kuanzia jana, ambaye tunapeana jamii 850, ambaye chakula kinaweza kulisha zaidi ya kama watu 1500. Na hii wakati ni ya kiangazi, kumekuwa na kiangazi kubwa katika hii maeneo yetu. Mvua imekosekana kwa muda mrefu. Sasa tunaingia labda mwaka wa 3 kuweza kukosa mvua katika maeneo haya.
Been serving with our NGO and helping the needy in Kenya. I've never seen such a situation in all the 26 years I've been in Kenya, where there's so much, the drought is just extreme here right now. And we are very grateful for all the donors who have partnered with us to be able to not only bring food for the people, but as well as hay. I do pray that we can do something to improve the infrastructure of the...
Story that we have been keeping our eyes peeled from the National Assembly, where it has approved the appointment of all the 24 nominees to the cabinet. This is after members of the National Assembly considered a report of the Appointments Committee chaired by Speaker Moses Wetangula, which gave 23 nominees the green light, and a separate motion by Kitui County MP Irene Kasalu, which saw Penina Malonza given the thumbs up for appointment as Tourism Cabinet Secretary. Parliament has given its seal of approval to all the 24 cabinet nominees. On Wednesday morning, members of the National Assembly endorsed the report on the Appointments Committee that approved 23 nominees and rejected 1. Thereafter, the legislators approved Penina Malonza's nomination for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage after considering a separate motion sponsored by Kitui County MP Lilian Kasalu. President William Ruto is now expected to appoint cabinet secretaries as follows: Amani National Congress Party leader Musalia Mudavadi as Prime Cabinet Secretary, Interior CS nominee Kithure Kindiki, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u for the Treasury docket, Alice Wahome Water and Sanitation, Garissa Township MP Aidan Duale for Defense, Rebecca Miano for East Africa Community, ASALS and Regional Development, Dr. Alfred Mutua Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs, Aisha Jumwa Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action, Moses Kuria Trade and Industry, Soipan Tuya Environment and Forestry, Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen Roads, Transport and Public Works. Others approved are Zakaria Mwangi CS Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Mithika Linturi Agriculture and Livestock Development, Eliud Oalo Information, Communication and Digital Economy, Ezekiel Mashogu Education, and Davis Chilchil of Energy and Petroleum. Salim Mvuria of Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, Susan Nakumincha of Health, Simon Chilugui of Cooperatives and MSMEs Development, Florence Bor of Labor.